Jungkook wipes Jimin's tears in the arena hallway, camera zooms, the world freezes, love is clearly visible movie camera loudly crying face the crash echoed louder than the cheers, metal on concrete, sharp, final Jimin, stop. You're bleeding. Jungkook's voice sliced through the electric air as he sprinted down the dim hallway, camera crews chasing, fans screaming from behind security gates. Jimin's knees buckled, his hand trembling against the concrete wall, his other hand clutching his ribs. Sweat mixed with blood on his temple, and his breath came out in short, agonized gasps. The hallway smelled like adrenaline, antiseptic, and something more metallic, something broken, but he didn't look up. Not even when Jungkook dropped to his knees in front of him. The spotlight from the nearby camera caught the shimmer in Jimin's eyes just as the first tear fell. Jungkook reached up, gently brushing it away with the back of his hand, calloused, warm, familiar. The world didn't slow down. It stopped. Everything, the echoing arena, the stomping feet, the urgent voices in earpieces, fell into silence. In that suspended moment, framed perfectly by the camera's accidental focus, something unspoken surged to the surface. Not just concern. Not just friendship, love. Raw, terrified, and undeniable. Jimin finally looked up. You weren't supposed to see this, he whispered, voice cracking like old glass. Jungkook's eyes searched his. Then why did you come here alone? He didn't answer. The hallway felt like a battlefield, not just because of the chaos beyond the doors but because of everything unsaid between them. Years of smiles on stage, rehearsals in sweat-soaked studios, glances too long, touches too brief. Always caught in the storm of fame, never allowed to anchor. Behind them, the show's final act was thundering on, flames, screams, a stadium losing its mind. But the real fire was here, smoldering in a hallway meant for passing through, not for confessions. Security said you punched the wall, Jungkook said quietly. His hand didn't leave Jimin's face. Why? Jimin closed his eyes. I got a message. Anonymous. Said, someone leaked the footage. Jungkook's breath hitched. The soul tapes? He asked, barely audible. Jimin nodded. They know. About us. Or they think they do. A silence heavier than applause pressed down between them. The soul tapes. 3 years ago. A moment of weakness or honesty, depending on who was asking. Recorded by accident, forgotten, encrypted. Or so they believed. What did it say exactly? Jungkook asked. Jimin pulled his phone from his jacket, the screen cracked, a red notification blinking. You thought you could hide. But the world loves a scandal more than a secret. Smile pretty, Jimin. The truth drops at midnight. The air seemed to constrict. Jungkook's jaw clenched. It's not just about us anymore. This could end everything. Jimin looked up again. Then maybe it should. That broke something in Jungkook. You don't mean that. Jimin's laugh was hollow. I don't know what I mean anymore. I'm tired of pretending the only thing that matters is the next perfect performance. Their eyes locked, and in the space between them bloomed 1,000 unspoken memories. Midnight rooftop talks. Fingers brushing backstage. Words swallowed for the sake of the brand. The choreography of suppression, then a loud click. The camera. One of the assistants had kept filming. Instinctively Jungkook turned his head sharply. Turn it off. Too late. A moment captured. Intimate. Fragile. Real. Someone was going to see it. Everyone was. Let them, Jimin whispered. Jungkook turned back to him. Are you sure? No. Jimin's voice trembled. But I'm done hiding. And for the first time in what felt like forever, Jungkook didn't feel afraid. He leaned forward, forehead to forehead, eyes closed. The hallway still smelled like panic, but between them, there was only stillness. Jungkook pulled him into his arms, slowly, like a camera dolly rolling in on a final shot. Let the world freeze. Let the footage leak, because in that moment, love didn't ask for permission. It just was. You don't get to make that decision alone, Jimin. Jungkook's voice cracked through the arena's loading bay like a firework, bright, loud, unstoppable. The black SUV's door slammed shut behind him as he cornered Jimin against the concrete pillar, security retreating awkwardly out of frame. Jimin didn't flinch. He looked at him with a defiant calm that Jungkook had only seen once before, backstage at Mema 2018, right before Jimin danced like his soul was bleeding. That same fire was back now, But this time it wasn't choreographed, they already decided for us, Jimin replied, voice low, bitter. Do you really think we still have a choice when the world is counting down to our scandal like it's a festival? Jungkook's fists clenched at his sides. Don't give them the ending they want. Jimin scoffed. You mean the truth? No, Jungkook stepped closer, his breath uneven. I mean surrender. You're letting them dictate who we are. I didn't survive training hell, media drills, and fake dating headlines for a decade just to let a nameless threat erase everything. Jimin's eyes glittered with something wild, half rage, half heartbreak. Everything? Is that all this is to you? Jungkook recoiled, stung. That's not what I meant. Then say what you mean. Silence. Heavy. Accusing. The roar of the arena beyond the corridor door felt like another life entirely. A place where their smiles were still safe and carefully constructed. But here, under the humming fluorescence, it was just them. Raw. Cornered, I meant, Jungkook said, voice trembling now, that I've worked so hard to keep us safe. I've fought in ways you'll never know just to protect you from this exact moment. Jimin turned away, pressing a hand against his mouth like he might break. You don't get to be the only one protecting someone, Kook. You're not the only one who bleeds in the shadows. The seconds passed like static in a silent room. Then Jungkook's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and went pale. Jimin noticed. What? It's Namjoon. He says the footage is real. Someone hacked the cloud server. Our private folder. Jimin's face went slack. He saw it. No, Jungkook said quickly. But he saw the metadata. It's scheduled for a midnight drop on multiple platforms. The dread between them crystallized. And the agency? Jimin asked, his voice barely a thread they know. Legal's on fire. PR is spinning something already. They're trying to frame it as deepfake. Jungkook swallowed. But they'll only protect one of us. Jimin laughed. Not joyously. Not bitterly. Just hollow. Let me guess. You. Because I'm the safe bet, Jungkook muttered. The golden image. The loyal brand. And I'm the wild card, Jimin said. Too emotional. Too soft. Too unpredictable. He turned back to Jungkook, and for the first time that night, his eyes softened not with surrender, but with something deeper. Do you regret it? That night. Jungkook didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his jacket, pulled out a small, silver chain almost invisible under his stagewear. At the end was a key. I kept this, he said, voice quiet. To the room in Seoul. I never turned it in. Jimin's breath caught. Why? Because I knew one day we'd either have to run back there, Jungkook said, or finally stop running. A door opened behind them. It was Hoseok, out of breath, eyes wide with disbelief. Guys, you need to come back inside. Now. It's chaos. Soul Tapes is trending already, and the teaser clip just leaked. Jungkook and Jimin froze. What teaser? They asked in unison. Hoseok hesitated. The hallway. From earlier tonight. Someone uploaded the raw feed. You're both in it. The tear. The touch. The silence. Jimin swore under his breath. Jungkook closed his eyes. It's too late now, Hoseok added. You're the story. Back inside the arena, their faces were being projected on every fan's phone screen. News outlets were already dissecting it. Editors were enhancing the lighting, pointing at body language. Shippers were screaming vindication. Critics were sharpening their knives. Sponsors were making calls, and in the eye of the hurricane, two men stood in the dim hall, realizing the one thing they were most afraid of had already happened. They had been seen. Jimin turned to Jungkook, almost amused through his panic. You think we still have a say in how this ends? No, Jungkook said. But we can still choose what we say next. From the corner, a forgotten camera blinked red, still recording. Jimin walked straight up to it, gaze steady. Then let them see the whole truth, he whispered, pressing his palm gently to the lens, and for the first time in years, he wasn't performing. He was finally living. Delete it, Yoongi. Now. Jungkook's voice was a razor, slicing through the tense air of the management conference room like it didn't care who bled. Yoongi didn't flinch. His fingers hovered over the laptop trackpad, his dark eyes unreadable beneath the low brim of his cap. "You're not the one calling the shots anymore, Jungkook. The company is." Across the glass table, Jimin sat motionless, the only sign of life in him being the small tremble in his fingers as he clutched the hem of his sweater. His face was unreadable, the expression of someone who had felt a ship sink beneath them before, and who had stopped hoping the lifeboat would come. "This isn't about the company," Jungkook said. "It's about people. About privacy. About reputation." Yoongi cut in, cold and exact. "Yours. His. Ours. The industry's. We've been on damage control since the first file hit the internet. Do you have any idea how many brands are threatening to pull out if we don't contain this?" "I don't care about brands," Jungkook shot back. "Well, I do," a new voice chimed in. Jin, arms crossed, looking angrier than either had seen him in years. "Because I've spent 15 years building this legacy, and I'm not going to watch it burn because you two couldn't keep your hands off each other in a hotel room in Seoul." Jimin flinched. "Barely. But Jungkook saw it." "That's not fair," Jungkook said. "You know it's not just about that night." "Oh, I know exactly what it's about," Jin said. "It's about selfishness. You thought you were invincible. You thought no one would find out. But they did. And now we all pay for it." The silence that followed was thunderous. Then Jimin stood up, slowly, deliberately. "I'm not going to apologize for being human," he said, voice low but firm. "If this costs me everything, my career, my fans, the stage, then so be it. I've lived in silence too long to bow for another headline." Yoongi looked up at him. "You're not just risking yourself, Jimin. You're risking all of us." "I never asked you to follow me," Jimin replied. "And I sure as hell never asked you to lie for me." He turned to leave, but Jungkook was already on his feet, following. "You're really going to walk away?" Jin shouted after them. "You're going to let the world define you by a 30-second clip and a kiss they haven't even seen yet?" Jungkook paused, his back still to the room. "No. I'm going to define it myself." The hallway outside the conference room was eerily quiet. For the first time since the leak, there were no cameras. No crew. Just silence and tension and the occasional buzz of a phone that didn't bring good news. Jimin didn't speak until they were inside the elevator. "They're going to bury us, you know that." Jungkook nodded. "Then let's make sure we die for something that matters." Jimin looked at him, eyes searching. "Do you really think we can win against this machine?" "I don't want to win," Jungkook said. "I want to be free." The elevator stopped at the garage. But before the doors opened, Jungkook reached out and hit the emergency stop. He turned to Jimin, heart hammering. "If we go out there, everything changes. Not just for us. For them too. Taehyung. Hobie. Army. Everyone. We're a symbol to people who've never even met us. They will dissect us like a scandal, not a story." "I know," Jimin whispered, "so if there's anything you haven't told me, anything I need to know before we become a headline and not a heartbeat, say it now." Jimin hesitated. Then he opened his mouth. "I lied." Jungkook blinked. "About what?" "That night in Seoul. It wasn't just about us. Someone followed us. Took pictures. I found them in my inbox a year later. Never told you." "What?" Jungkook's jaw tightened. "Why would you? I thought I could keep you safe. I thought if I kept it quiet, it would go away. But whoever sent them, they wanted something. And I ignored it." "Did they threaten you?" Jimin nodded. Jungkook's pulse spiked. "With what?" "The truth." And suddenly it wasn't just about a leaked video. It was a setup. A trap years in the making. The elevator's emergency light flickered above them. Jungkook took a step closer, his voice hard now. "You should have told me." "I didn't want to lose you," Jimin said. "You nearly did anyway." They stood there, inches apart, the air between them thick with fear and fury and longing. "Now what?" Jimin asked. Jungkook took a deep breath, then leaned forward until their foreheads touched. "Now we burn it all down. Together." Outside, the world was spinning faster. Fans rioted online, half in defense, half in outrage. News anchors fed on the story like vultures. Headlines bloated with speculation. Former staff members sold anonymous quotes. Old photos were dug up. Even Jungkook's parents had been asked to comment, but neither of them looked at their phones. Instead, they sat in the back of the car, hand in hand, eyes fixed on the road ahead. They didn't know where it led, but at least, this time, they'd walk it together. "You're trending #1 in 27 countries, Taehyung said, deadpan, tossing his phone onto the coffee table like it was a grenade that had already gone off. "And not because of your vocals, for once." Jungkook stood by the window of their shared safe house, an anonymous penthouse in Hannam, rented under a shell name the agency used for containment scenarios. The glass vibrated faintly from the helicopters circling above, like vultures trying to crack the truth out of stone. "They're calling you the fall of the golden boy. They're calling Jimin the virus that killed BTS." Taehyung looked at Jungkook, eyes tired, angry. "Do you have any idea what they're doing to him online right now?" Jungkook didn't turn. "I know." "No, you don't," Taehyung snapped. "You're still thinking like this is salvageable. That you can just drop an apology video, cry a little, and everyone forgets. This is not a scandal. This is war." Behind him, the door opened. Jimin entered, wearing a hoodie too big for him, the sleeves chewed at the ends, eyes hidden beneath a cap. He looked like a shadow of someone famous. "I saw it," he said. His voice was hoarse. Taehyung stood. "The broadcast?" Jimin nodded. "They didn't just leak the soul tapes. They released the voice memo too." Taehyung went silent. Even Jungkook turned now, his heart stuttering. "What memo?" he asked carefully. Jimin pulled out his phone and pressed played. "I loved him first. And if you think Jungkook wasn't using you to protect himself, you're more naive than I thought. He always knew what he was doing. He always knew what it would cost you." The voice was unmistakable. "It was one of their managers, Namjoon." Jungkook's knees nearly buckled. "No," he said. "No, that's not." "He would never." "It's spliced," Jimin interrupted. "Edited. Weaponized." "But people believe it," Taehyung muttered, sinking into the couch. "Because it sounds true. And it hurts." Jungkook felt something twist inside him, deeper than betrayal. Something old. Like shame. Like helplessness. "He wouldn't sell us out," he insisted, quieter now. "He raised us." "People change," Jimin said. "Or maybe they just take their masks off." A sudden knock on the door cut through the room like gunfire. All three froze. "Security?" Jimin whispered. Jungkook moved first, cautious, and looked through the peephole. It was Hobie, disheveled. Eyes red. Breathing fast. He opened the door and Hobie stumbled inside, shutting it behind him like he'd run from something. "They know where you are," he gasped. "The press. The Sasarangs. The agency. This place isn't safe anymore." "How?" Taehyung began. "I don't know. Maybe the driver. Maybe someone in the building. All I know is they're coming here tonight. You need to go. Now." Jungkook was already grabbing bags. "Where?" "There's a place in Busan. My cousin's." "He doesn't ask questions." "We're not running," Jimin said suddenly, voice steel. Everyone turned. "We've done nothing wrong," he continued. "We loved. We hid it. We broke. But we didn't betray anyone. They did. And if you stay," Hobie said, "they will break you." Jimin looked at him, something fierce burning in his chest. "Then let them try." Silence fell like ash. Jungkook took a step toward him. "If you stay, I stay." "Me too," Taehyung added. Hobie looked like he might scream. "Are you all insane? This is not romantic, it's dangerous. You think the court of public opinion has rules? They want blood. They can't have ours," Jimin said. Suddenly his phone vibrated. The screen flashed with an unknown number. He answered. "Park." "Jimin," the voice asked, smooth and sharp like a blade dressed in silk. "Who is this?" "Let's call me the curator of the truth. You've been telling too much of it. And some of us liked the illusion better." Jungkook moved closer, listening in. "What do you want?" Jimin asked. "To offer you a choice. Disappear quietly, and I'll make sure the next leak is redacted. Stay visible, and I release the raw footage. You remember the balcony, don't you?" Jimin froze. "The one with the mirror," the voice purred. "The one where you begged him not to go." Very poetic. Very damning. The call ended. The room was too quiet. Jimin slowly looked up. "They have more." Jungkook touched his arm. "Then we take it back." How? Own it. All of it. No denial. No apology. No shame. They'll crucify us. Jungkook smiled, bitter. Then we rise. That night, they went live. No PR filter. No makeup. No agency rep in the background, just Jimin and Jungkook, sitting shoulder to shoulder on a couch that wasn't theirs, telling a story that was, "We loved each other," Jungkook said, "and we still do," Jimin added. The comments exploded. Some in support. Some in horror. Some in betrayal, and some just enough saying, "Thank you." For a moment, it was quiet in their hearts. No one saves the saints, but maybe, just maybe, the truth could save the sinners. The hotel suite was drenched in too much gold. Chandeliers dripped from the ceiling like overkill. Mirrors lined the walls, reflecting fractured images of themselves from every angle, each reflection a slightly distorted version of a truth they had once tried to keep sacred. Jungkook stood in front of the largest mirror, jaw tight, shirt wrinkled from the sudden drive. "This is the room," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. Jimin didn't respond. He was still in the hallway, hand hovering above the doorframe, as if crossing into this space would shatter the last piece of him that still believed he could control the narrative. His fingers trembled before he stepped in. The door clicked shut behind him like a loaded gun. Neither said a word for a long while. Then, softly, Jungkook broke the silence. "That night, do you remember what you said to me here?" Jimin looked at the mirror. His reflection looked back like a stranger. "Which part?" he said, though he already knew. "You said you wished I was just a fan," Jungkook continued. "So you could love me in peace." Jimin let out a breath that sounded like a wound tearing open. "And you said you'd rather burn the world down than pretend it wasn't real." Jungkook turned. "So why do you keep running from that night?" Jimin's eyes darkened. "Because they turned it into evidence." "The mirror caught everything," Jungkook said, stepping forward. "The kiss. The breakdown. You on your knees begging me not to go back to her." Jimin flinched. "Do you think I don't remember?" Jungkook asked, voice rising. "Do you think I forgot how your voice cracked when you said you'd rather destroy yourself than lie one more time?" "I meant it," Jimin snapped. "But we made a deal, remember? You would be the face. I would be the shadow. You'd play the role. I'd carry the silence. We chose that." "No, you chose that. I just followed because I thought it was the only way to keep you. And now look where we are," Jimin said bitterly. "No roles. No silence. Just the wreckage." Jungkook's voice broke. "Do you regret it?" Jimin didn't answer. "Tell me," Jungkook begged. "Even if it destroys me. I need to hear it." Jimin stepped closer, until they stood inches apart. "I regret every time I said no comment when I wanted to say your name. I regret every handshake when I wanted to hold your hand in front of the world. I regret hiding behind fear like it made me strong. But no," his voice cracked. "I don't regret you." Jungkook closed his eyes. "Then come back to me." "I never left," Jimin whispered. The air between them shifted, hot, electric, heavy with things unspoken for too long. Their hands found each other like gravity. No performance. No lens. No lie, but the moment shattered with a buzz. Jungkook's phone. One word on the screen. Breaking. Dispatch releases full mirror room video. Jimin's breath caught. They did it. Jungkook clicked the link. The footage was grainy, time-stamped, real. Jimin on the floor, tears streaming. Jungkook holding his face, lips trembling. The audio leaked too. "Don't go back to her. Please. I can't watch you erase yourself anymore. I'm not hers. I'm not anyone's. But I can't be yours, not publicly. They'll ruin you. Let them. I'd rather be ruined with you than perfect without you." And then, the kiss. Long. Desperate. Fragile. The video cut to black. In less than 5 minutes, the internet had collapsed. The hashtags were volcanic, #Jungkook confirmed, #mirrorroom leak, #this is real love, #Kpop will never be the same. Thousands screamed in love. Thousands more screamed betrayal. Sponsors began pulling. CEO statements began flooding in. A government official even commented, "Disgraceful behavior for national icons." "Are we ready for this?" Jimin whispered, eyes locked to the chaos playing out on screen. Jungkook looked at him, finally, with peace in his eyes. We were born into a system that turned us into products. And for once, we just broke the mold. So no, we're not ready. But we're not hiding anymore. The hotel room phone rang. They didn't move. It rang again. Jungkook finally answered. Hello. It was Namjoon. His voice was quiet. Serious. Waited, you need to get out. Now. They're not just attacking you online anymore. Someone's threatening legal action. They're framing it as a breach of contract, morality clause violations. They want to silence you. We're not afraid, Jungkook replied. You should be, Namjoon said. This goes higher than the agency. Political figures. Broadcast execs. People with investments. You've disrupted something bigger than two idols in love. Then let them come, Jungkook said. We're not going to disappear. Namjoon's voice cracked for the first time. You don't understand. This isn't about protecting a brand. This is about control. You've embarrassed the people who built you. They don't forgive. Jimin took the phone from Jungkook. Then they'll have to watch as we rebuild ourselves without them. Namjoon sighed. Then God help you both. He hung up. Jungkook turned back to Jimin, whose hands were trembling again. I'm scared, Jimin admitted. I am too, Jungkook said, gently taking his hand. But fear didn't keep us alive all these years. Love did. The mirrors watched them. Dozens of reflections showing two men who had finally stepped into their truth, even if the world hated it, and outside, the city roared, but inside, there was quiet. Together, they stood in the wreckage. Not as idols. Not as victims. But as lovers who had chosen to fight back, even if it cost them everything. The sound of the microphone hitting the floor echoed like a gunshot. Cameras zoomed in instantly, flashes blinding, as thousands of confused fans in the dome looked toward the sudden commotion at center stage. Jungkook stood frozen, jaw clenched, chest heaving. Across from him, the agency CEO had just stormed offstage, his exit caught live on the massive screen. A miscalculated attempt at reconciliation, at image control, had just blown up spectacularly. Jimin was backstage, gripping the earpiece as the production team screamed into comms. Pull the feed. Cut to black. Get him off stage now. But Jungkook wasn't moving. His eyes were locked on the stunned crowd. He reached down, picked up the microphone, and lifted it again to his lips. The reverb was sharp. Unstable. I wasn't supposed to speak today, he said. I was told to stand here, smile, and pretend the last 2 weeks never happened. That the leaks, the videos, the headlines were a misunderstanding. That we were a mistake. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Fans held up their phones, trembling. Some were already in tears. I was told to look at you all and lie. Jimin was already running. Down the corridor. Past the crew. Past Hoseok, who shouted after him. Past Yoongi, whose eyes burned with 1,000 warnings. He didn't care. He knew that voice. Knew what it sounded like right before it jumped. But I can't lie anymore, Jungkook said. Not when the truth saved my life. And then the door burst open, and Jimin was there, stepping into the spotlight beside him. The crowd erupted. The sound was deafening. Shock, confusion, or Jimin took the other mic, already live. His breath was shaky, but his eyes didn't waver. I loved him in silence for years. Because I thought the silence was safer. That it would protect him. That it would protect all of us. Jungkook looked at him, eyes shining. And I let him believe that. I let him carry our truth in the shadows because I was scared of what the world would do to it. Cameras panned. Staff ran frantically behind the scenes. Security debated rushing the stage, but the two men stood steady. We were built to be perfect, Jimin said. To sell smiles. To dance heartbreaks. To sing about freedom while we were locked in golden cages. But love doesn't survive in cages, Jungkook added. It wilts. It breaks. And we almost let them kill ours. Silence fell like snowfall. Then someone in the audience shouted, I love you. Another, don't stop. The crowd began to chant. Not a song. Not a slogan. Just a wave of voices shouting, let them live. Let them love. Let them live. And then, the lights went out. Panic. A beat of pure black. Then a spotlight. On the side of the stage, an unexpected figure stepped out. Namjoon, microphone in hand. Face unreadable. The crowd went silent again. He walked to the center slowly. The tension in the air was unbearable. He stood between them. Do you know what it cost me, he said, voice soft but cutting, to watch you two fall apart for the sake of surviving? Jungkook blinked, unsure. Namjoon turned to the audience. I watched them destroy themselves for you. For us. For a dream built on the promise that we could be everything and still belong to no one. Jimin's voice cracked. Then why didn't you stop it? Because I thought I was protecting us, Namjoon said. But I see now, I was protecting the system. Not the people. He handed the mic to Jungkook. If you're going to burn it down, let me at least help light the match. That was the moment it all shifted. Backstage, the agency was in chaos. Legal was already preparing statements. Sponsors were backing out by the hour. But on stage, a new kind of rebellion was taking root. Taehyung joined them. Then Hoseok. Then Yoongi. Each came in silence, not with speeches but with presence. 6 men, standing where only lies used to live. The screens behind them flickered photos from years past. Not the official ones. Not the glossy PR smiles. But stolen moments. Unedited joy. Arms slung around shoulders. Sleeping on each other in vans. Laughing in hotel rooms. And yes, Jimin and Jungkook, standing a little too close. Looking at each other when they thought no one would notice. The crowd stopped chanting. They just watched, and then, from somewhere near the front, a fan held up a sign. Simple. Sharp. We knew. We always knew. Jungkook looked at Jimin. The world was falling apart behind them. The agency would sue. Contracts would die. Brands would vanish. But none of that mattered now. Jimin whispered, sing it with me. Jungkook nodded and they began. No instruments. No track. Just voices. The song wasn't about love. Not directly. It was about being lost. About finding something real. About choosing truth even when it costs you your crown. The others joined in. 6 voices, shaking the walls. The 7th was silent because Jin was still in the military, watching from a base somewhere, tears running down his face. And for the first time, the world didn't watch idols. It watched men human. Flawed. In love. In pain. And finally, free. Snow fell in slow spirals outside the courthouse. Cameras crowded behind barricades, lenses pointed at the entrance as though trying to break through glass and stone to catch a glimpse of the story they had been chasing for months. Reporters shouted into mics, headlines already written before anything had been said. Inside, the echo of shoes on marble floors felt like a funeral procession. Jungkook sat beside Jimin on the wooden bench, both dressed in black suits, hands resting close but not quite touching. A single glance between them carried more than language could hold. Months of headlines, court summons, brand betrayals, fan riots, apologies they never gave, and truths they never took back. The lawsuit was real. Morality clause breach. Defamation. Brand damage. Conduct unbecoming. Legal jargon used to disguise what they were really being punished for, not for breaking rules, but for refusing to live inside a lie. Taehyung, Yoongi, Hoseok, and Namjoon sat behind them in the gallery. Not as witnesses. Not as idols. As brothers. Jimin turned his head slightly, just enough for Jungkook to see the tension in his jaw. Do you think, he whispered, this is the end? Jungkook gave the smallest of smiles. No. It's just the final verse. The judge entered. The bailiff called for silence. The proceedings began. The agency's lawyer spoke first. Poised. Ruthless. Polished. Talking about image, market value, betrayal of trust. He never used the word love. It wasn't in the script. Then Jungkook stood. No prepared statement. No defense team notes. I joined the agency when I was 15, he said. I signed everything they gave me. I smiled when they told me to. I kept secrets that weren't mine. But the one thing I won't do now, or ever again, is deny who I love. He turned to Jimin, whose breath caught in his throat. I chose him, Jungkook continued. In silence. In shadows. And finally, in the light. The room was so quiet, you could hear the snow melting outside the windows. Jimin stood next. His voice didn't shake. I'm not ashamed, he said. I won't be your cautionary tale. I won't apologize because the love you saw didn't fit your idea of what love should look like. He looked straight at the judge. You can fine us. You can blacklist us. But you will not erase us. The verdict came down lighter than expected: fines, termination of sponsorships, dissolution of specific contracts, no prison, no official blacklisting. But the industry would remember. The system would not forgive. After the court adjourned, they walked into the storm of flashing lights and voices like gunfire. Reporters shouted, "Is it over? Will you leave the country? Are you still together?" Jungkook stopped, pulled Jimin into his arms, and kissed him right there, on the courthouse steps. Cameras exploding like fireworks. The kiss was not desperate, not hidden. It was an ending, and a beginning, wrapped into one breathless act of defiance. When they pulled apart, Jimin whispered against his lips, "That was the first time we ever kissed in public." Jungkook smiled. Felt like the first time all over again. In the months that followed, they vanished. No press. No statements. No comebacks. Fans searched, speculated, grieved, celebrated, divided. But quietly, in the corner of the internet untouched by trends, something else grew. A single video. Uploaded without promotion. A dimly lit room. A piano. Two voices. One song. The lyrics were simple. A farewell. A confession. A prayer. It wasn't labeled. No fanfare. No title, but everyone who heard it knew what it was: their last note, not to the industry but to each other. The camera lingered on their hands, finally intertwined, finally unafraid, and in the final frame, Jimin looked at Jungkook and said, "Now we live." Fade to black. The story ended, but the truth echoed.